You strike me as being very fearless. Not careless, but fearless when you believe in something. Were you that way as a kid?
Yeah, I think so.
What kind of kid? What kind of little girl? What was the little Lori Cheek like?
I remember my parents always finding me in places like the top of the refrigerator when I was 2, so they don't know how I got there, but I was found in trees a lot. So, I mean, I grew up in one of the smallest towns that I thought existed in the entire world, and I felt like I was crawling out of my skin to get out. And many years later, I appreciate where I've grown up more than just about anything. I mean, it built who I am to this day, but I wanted to get somewhere big and I wanted to conquer something huge, and I feel like I'm doing it. I'm making it happen. My cousin was Ronnie Cheek and I was Lori Cheek, and we were inseparable. And people would say, like, you're on the wrong side of the hall, you're the left butt cheek and she's the right butt cheek.
So taking that name that caused you so much, when did you turn it from pain to success?
I mean, I hated the name as a kid. And you know, as a kid, you're always kind of insecure about something. So it was that name to me, and I just hated, that was my thing. 6 years ago when I came up with this idea, forever I just was like, what am I going to call this thing? Like, you've been hugged, admired, winked. I wanted you to have been something, and I wanted it to be a new word. And then it just clearly appeared in front of me that I had this cheeky last name, and the business idea was very cheeky, like kissing on the cheek, pinching the cheek, and then I was going to ultimately be the face of this business. So it became You've Been Cheeked. It was a life-changing light bulb moment that happened 6 years ago, and I was out to dinner with another handsome architect friend, and I'd excused myself from the table, and when I came back, he'd written on the back of his business card, "Want to have dinner?" And he slid that to a woman as we were leaving the restaurant. And I remember looking back thinking how smooth that was, and I was like, did he just do what I think he did to that stranger? They went on a date, and I left with this idea that wouldn't go away. I mean, I feel like I've always kind of been a social connector in life. Me, as social as I am, I realized it's pretty hard to meet people in New York City, but when I came up with this idea, I couldn't even wait to use the product myself. I made so many friends from these cards alone, and of course I've been on the funniest dates too. I've handed them to every celebrity I've passed. I cheeked Mickey Rourke, Uma Thurman, I cheeked her at the Gramercy Park Hotel, Timothy Hutton actually sent me a message. Willem Dafoe, I cheeked him at Morandi. I cheeked Russell Simmons at the Chanel opening party a few years ago in Soho, and the editor from the New York Observer was there when he pulled the card out of his pocket. And the next morning I got a Google alert about Russell Simmons getting cheeked at the Chanel opening party during Fashion Week. And every time I used to fly into New York City, I remember looking at all the empty windows and thinking, he's got to be in one of these windows. I mean, there's so many people here. You just have to keep your eyes open. I mean, pay attention at every moment. And we're in a day and age where everyone's looking down at their phones. And if everyone just started looking up to see what's around them, they might just find love. And, you know, I'm giving a tool that's kind of an ice-breaking method to say, hey, I want to see you again, in a cheeky and non-intrusive way. My stubbornness has led to the success that I've made out of building this business so far, and I really haven't ever done anything halfway. When I get dressed in the morning, I don't do it halfway. When I decide to take on a hobby, I don't do that halfway. It's all or none for me, and this idea alone I've believed in more than anything I've believed in my entire life. So trust me, I will make this thing happen and make it a success.